The friendly derby, they called this. Wasn't very friendly last time, was it, Reds? Let's talk about this one. Welcome to Khanage. Welcome to another episode of Khanage. Welcome, LFC Daytrippers community. Welcome all the other fans from all the clubs. Looking forward to a Merseyside Derby this weekend. And I thought I'll bring on a special guest to have a chat about this derby. And I want to give a warm welcome to Mike. Mike, how you doing, pal? You're on mute, Mike. You're on mute, I think.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. They've muted me. I'm in the lion's den. So look, it could be scary for me tonight. But look, just ease me in, guys. I'm not a nasty Everton fan. I just talk football.
That's what we love to hear. You know what? You've come to the right channel. We're the most friendly channel out there. We don't discriminate. We don't bully. We don't really take offense to much what's said to us. But appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. You're probably being as busy us guys. Looking forward to the derby. Like sort of, it's say what you want, and we can sort of always play it down. But when it comes round, it just gets you going, doesn't it? The excitement just goes through the roof. The tension. You're probably feeling all that, aren't you?
No, I hate going into derby games.
Oh God, yeah.
As an Everton fan, because we have to be realistic. We don't beat you too often. And although there's been some decent performances over the years, and obviously we may talk about a few, for us to say that we've really sort of dismantled Liverpool, you've got to go back sort of 10 years, 10, 15 years when we beat you guys 3-0. It's been a long time, and we go into this game as a football team and as a fan base, not really knowing where Everton Football Club are, really. The Everton fans on Twitter and in the comments, even there's a few Everton fans in here that I've just noticed. So thanks for coming over and supporting me, guys.
Oh, no, you'll definitely see that we get a load of Everton's fans in there as well. We'll dig into your mindset and your thinking going into this game. Look. He's so good looking. I wanted everyone to just have a look at him before he speaks, and I didn't want to introduce him. So, but now that everyone's realized who's that good looking fella in the corner, it's of course it's my co-host Avi. Avi, what's happening? What's California saying, bro?
Yeah, good. Warm weather. No rain, although we do need it. But I'm good. Ready to go for the big derby on Saturday. So should be good. And welcome, Mike, to Khanage.
Excellent. Listen, before we start, lads, I nearly forgot my amazing sponsors. How dare I? Of course, we're sponsored by Your FUT Card. Guys, the website is www.yourfutcard.com. They're those custom cards that come in range of design and sizes. Amazing, top quality material. Get your player cards, your jersey cards. Even make your own FUT cards made. They are actually brilliant. I've got one made from young children. I'm sure everybody else is going to get on board there. And to help you guys out and to help us guys out, if you use LFC DT at the checkout, you get 20% off your purchase. What more do you want? You can find them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the usual platforms. All the details are in the show description as well. So get on that, guys. They've been brilliant with us, and we want to be brilliant for them as well. Right. Derby, proper derby belly I've got. I spent about, I don't want to go into it, but I was busy in the Kazi about 20 minutes. And it does this to me. Whatever the state of the teams, wherever we are in the league. Avi, I just want to come to you first, because I've got to say, you're one of the most positive Reds I know, even though we're coming off the back of 3 defeats at Anfield in a row. I literally can't remember the last time we've gone into this kind of position that we find ourselves. How are you feeling going into the derby this time around?
Not gonna lie, Grizz, I was confident back in October as well. I'm confident again. It's a game for Liverpool fans. It's a game of like redemption. We keep hearing that word, isn't it? Retribution, redemption, revenge. Our season sort of, I would say the game in October sort of defined our season. I know we went on a little good run and we were top of the league by Boxing Day, but it always alludes to that game. You know, the Van Dijk injury, the THIAGO, that Richarlison tackle, the Pickford incident, VAR, Michael Oliver. It always comes back to that game where our season sort of just, it turned out, you know, to be not a disastrous season, but it just turned out to be like a season which, you know, hasn't been fulfilled. I'm really confident of Saturday. We can put a lot of wrong things right, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, there's a few inklings of a few injuries, you know, yet again at Liverpool, but we go into this game full of confidence, especially after the performance against Leipzig. I'm really looking forward to it. You know, with or without fans, we go and we actually get the job done this time.
Interesting. I told you, I always love your positivity. I mean, how you've managed to turn this match into we go into it with full of confidence, I don't know. But that's what Avi does, Mike. He's a positive Red, you know. But from your point of view, Mike, I know you touched upon sort of you hate derbies. I get that. I'm pretty much the same. Games against Man United and Everton, you just can't enjoy. You enjoy them afterwards when you've won, or they get a man sent off and you're 3-0 up or something, and then you can sit back and relax. And we've been in that situation a couple of times against you guys where you know, we've been up 3-0, 4-0. But otherwise, you know, these games are always tense, always difficult to predict, regardless of, as I said, what form the teams go into it. How are you feeling? And especially compared to the first game, just go through the feelings from the first game to this one. So start off with the first one, because it was a totally different scenario, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the first game, you know, Everton won beaten in 7 games. We'd won 7 straight games. We were top of the league by 4 points at the time. And a lot of Everton fans, including myself, were absolutely buzzing. Buzzing? You know, I was going to say, I don't know if I can swear on this show, but we were buzzing.
Go on, man. Of course you
so
it's Khanage.
You know, so you know, we went into that game against Liverpool and look for a genuine. I genuinely believe we would win, and not just win. I genuinely believe we would beat Liverpool comfortably. And Liverpool come to Goodison, they played extremely well. And I'm sure we'll touch on the Van Dijk incident. I'm sure people will mention Richarlison as well, and that's fair enough. We'll get into that in a bit or whatever. But it was a game that sort of, for me, showed that Everton wanted to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool. Yes, it was a little bit of a dirty game, and again, things will get made of that, whatever, fine. But it showed that Everton's mentality may have been changing from going in as underdogs against Liverpool to actually wanting to give you a game and try and play against Liverpool, man for man, football for football. And Liverpool did Liverpool were good that day. You had a lot of opportunities to win that game, and Everton managed to get a result. We ground out a 1-1 in the end, and you know, we take that, we move on, and we sort of carried on for a little bit, and then we fell apart. And then we go into this game on a pretty similar poor run of form. You know, Everton have had 2 wins in 8. We're not playing well. I think Carlo might have lost touch with his best 11, whether that be through injury or whether that be through the way that he's tried to change the team regularly, because he's made a lot of changes week in, week out, which a lot of Everton fans have questioned. But we go into this game against Liverpool knowing we haven't beaten Liverpool at Anfield in a long, long time. But knowing that our away form is absolutely fantastic. You know, we're second best in the league in away form terms. We set up tight, so it'll be difficult to break us down. and we will use the pacing behind Liverpool to try and cause you guys problems. You guys will have 70% of the ball easy, and we'll just try and hit you on the counter, very similar to what we did for the Manchester City game. Good news for Everton is it looks like we're going to have Calvert-Lewin back, who's been good for us this season, and Alan as well. So Alan will come back into the side. So Everton automatically are better with them two players in the team. So look, from an Everton perspective, I'm not going to sound confident going into this game. I certainly don't think we're going to go to Anfield and win, but I'm confident we can give you a good game and maybe come out with a draw. You know? No,
that's look. And rightly so, when you've got a manager of the caliber of Carlo Ancelotti, big games shouldn't really sort of phase Everton fans. I mean, from looking from the outset, he does seem to have a better record against teams. And that's the kind of manager he is. He's one of the, for me, he's one of the all-time greats. Avi, I know you're an Ancelotti fan. What do you make of his time there? And do you think he's most certainly the best manager I can remember they've had? What kind of job do you think he's done over the park?
He's installed this sort of mentality, sort of like when they go down, they don't panic. You know, Everton teams of before, when they used to go down 1 or 2-0, you wouldn't see them come back and draw or, you know, give make a fist of the game. Against United, you know, they would 2-0 down, got it back to 2-2, then 3-2, and then they scored late on again, Everton. So he's brought a bit of steel into that team. He's made some astute signings over the summer. Ancelotti, it seems as if, you know, we've got this love affair with Carlo Ancelotti as Liverpool fans since Istanbul, isn't it? Because, you know, Istanbul, then 07 in Athens. Then obviously with Napoli, you know, he's had a couple of good results against us at Napoli, and then Everton. You know, I think his first game in charge, was it the FA Cup loss when Curtis Jones scored from outside the box? Was that his first game, I think? Right into it in the FA Cup? I think that was his first game, wasn't it? As manager. Sort of came in like a day, 2 days before.
Yeah, it was either his first or his second game. It was very early on.
Yeah, and then we've got obviously we drew at the back end of last season when, you know, football restarted again, and then this season the October result again, which resulted in another draw. I think he's made you guys definitely stronger. You know, he's brought some really good players. Alan, who's a very combative midfielder, and obviously knows him from his time at Napoli. Doucouré, who, you know, a couple of seasons we were looking at him. I think Ben Godfrey's been a great find from Norwich. You know, I highly, highly rate him. He's playing at left back at the moment, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he has done. He's been brilliant at left back, and as a result of that, he actually pushed Luca Dean into left midfield against Man City.
Yeah, and obviously Calvert-Lewin, who's come leaps and bounds from the last couple of seasons. You know, he's found a tune out of him. And then obviously you've got, you know, the bulldog that I call him, Richarlison. You know, I think every team needs a player like of that sort, you know, of that ilk, where he's just, you know, he's a bit rough. He knows how to wind up the opposition. We had that in Suarez, and I think, you know, I'm not saying that they're the same players, but Richarlison has that sort of extra yard. You know, he knows he can tap into the other players' minds. So yeah, I think Ancelotti's done a good job. I think, Mike, a question for you. Like, I know you were top of the league prior to our game at the Merseyside Derby. You were 4 points ahead. Do you think realistically, with the acquisitions that you brought, obviously James Rodriguez, I'm 50-50 on him. I'm torn between whether he can do it in the Premiership or not. A bit inconsistent for me. But do you think the aim this season was probably top 6 and then push, see if you can make a fist of it, top 4?
Yeah, I think Carlo come out, his first press conference this season, he come out and he made a statement saying that he wants Everton to be competing at the top of the league. But realistically, and he subsequently come out a few weeks after, and he clearly said that the aim was to get Europe. Now, you know, Europa League football for Everton, although it's not necessarily for everyone, it's a step in the right direction for Everton Football Club. So it's something we need at the end of the day. We've gone out and we've spent a lot of money on a lot of players over the years, and some of them have been pretty crap. You know, they've been shit, really. And
name names.
Klassen.
Don't hold back.
Cenk Tosun?
Yeah, Cenk Tosun, Theo Walcott. But honestly, the list is endless. I mean, you know, realistically,
I just wanted to hear the list. I'm naughty like that. Go on.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's fair enough. You bring Rooney back for a season. Pickford is nowhere near the goalkeeper. A lot of people thought, I never really rated Pickford particularly anyway, because Pickford was always going to look fantastic at Sunderland because they had 7 million shots taken at him. Do you get what I mean? So it doesn't matter how many saves he makes, he looks great. So
Mike, we had that. Sorry, Mike, Sunderland keepers, and we had a similar one in Mignolet. We know what it's like, mate. Everyone thought the world of him, and I had to remind the Liverpool fans that we've had an ex-Sunderland keeper who's not very good either. But sorry.
No, and that's the thing. So it's going to take Carlo time. He's got financial restraints he's now got to work with because we've spent so much money on wages, etc. So I think Carlo's done a phenomenal job. The frustration for me as an Everton fan, and actually you alluded to it earlier, was we've got this mentality where we do go up against the big teams and we don't die, we don't roll over. But actually, against Fulham, against Newcastle, against Leeds, against West Ham, we fell asleep. We lose all of those games at home, and that's an absolute disgrace as Everton Football Club. So for me, it's really weird saying this, but the only reason we're not higher in the league is because of our home form, because our away form was second in the league, but our home form was 17th in the league. It's a disgrace.
I was just going to say about the Carlo kind of love affair with Liverpool. I think, Avi, you touched upon that sort of our famous battles with him in the past for Milan and for Napoli, etc., etc. But I think the way we actually approached Carlo, and I believe he was our first choice to take over Liverpool. I think that's another thing that sort of Liverpool fans reflect on. At the time, I must confess, he was my choice. Because of the fact that he's won everything everywhere, and how can you say no to Carlo? But from what I was led to believe, Carlo thought that Liverpool needed a rebuild, and our owners at the time didn't think that they could support him, or he was not supportive of their Moneyball framework. But then that's why I was surprised when he went to Everton. But then saying that, Mike, you've said he's been backed quite heavily financially, hasn't he, in the market? It's not as though Everton have sort of, not backed him. They have given him the funds. I'm with you, Mike. I think he's done a fantastic job at Everton. Considering where you guys were, sort of the brand of football that you guys were playing, and look, we can discuss injuries, and I know you guys have been decimated with injuries as well. I know everyone talks about our injuries, but the majority of clubs, bar Man United and Man City, haven't had, they're the only ones that haven't had injuries this season, and lo and behold, they're at the top. Very much like us last season. Obviously, we've had sort of, crippling injuries. I think your coach has done well in terms of style of football. What do you make of his style of football since he's been at Everton? Refreshing?
It's been quite weird, actually, because at the start of the season, we played very aggressive, open football. We were scoring lots of goals. Against you guys, that was the first time we'd scored less than 3 goals in the game. And since then, and we did have them injuries. So we had them injuries to Allen. Richarlison obviously was out after the derby due to his reckless red card, I must say. It sort of destabilised the whole Everton that we had at the start of the season, and we have suffered with injuries. Decorey's been out, Hammers has been out, DCL's been out, Luca Dean's been out for 6 weeks. We've lost a lot of our key players this season at key times, and we've rode it to a degree. But actually, as a result of that, it changed the style, and we went more defensive, and we allow teams to now press on us, and we don't try and. But what Carlo tries to do, and this is where, in my opinion, he's got it wrong, is he's tried to play that open football against the teams that you would expect Everton to beat, like, these home games against Leeds and Fulham. And it's no disrespect to any Leeds and Fulham fans in there, but you'd expect Everton to beat them at Goodison. And we've been unstuck by the pace in these teams, you know, because they can move in between Sigurdsson and Gomez, because although they're very good technically, they're certainly not the quickest. So it's easy to play around them. So he's got it wrong at times. Against the bigger teams, he plays very defensive. You will have all of the ball, no problem. You will.
Yeah.
But when we get that ball, and you are further up our pitch, and you've got, you know, TAA and Robbo on the other side charging down left and right sides, that's where the gap's going to be for Everton, and that's where you're going to see the ball played into. So it's going to be long ball football. It's not going to be pretty from Everton, but it'll be efficient. You know, you saw against Manchester City the other night, Everton only had 2 shots on target. They scored a goal from it. So it'll be a similar style against Liverpool. You can have the ball as much as you want, but you've got to break us down. And it took Manchester City a good 70 minutes to really go at us and actually clear themselves in the game against us, which was a positive for Everton, although a lot of Everton fans think it was a bad game for us. But just
Avi,
Avi,
you know, Mike touched upon sort of Carlo Ancelotti sometimes tends to be sort of on the more pragmatic defensive side. You know, his teams, Avi, what do you make of his teams in the past? Because from what I know, right, he has got this, even though he's an absolute gentleman, right? He comes across as an absolute gentleman and an absolute don. I tend to find his teams to be very, what's the word? Bitty, love a tackle, lot of pressing, a lot of niggly fouls, a lot of breaking up the play. Not as openly and as cynically as a Jose Mourinho team, but his teams certainly have that edge about them. Would you agree?
Yeah, they do. I think that's the Italian in Carlo, though, isn't it? But if you look at his Milan team, that team from 03 till up until 07, it was a wonderful team. You know, Kaká pulling the strings in midfield. You had Pirlo, you had Gattuso, you had Crespo in 05. You know, Inzaghi's, you had a great array of players, and they were all bulldogs, weren't they? Gattuso, I mean, what a tough tackling midfielder he was. You know, someone who would give it all his blood, sweat, and tears. Went to Madrid again. That Madrid team, he had a really good team at Madrid. You know, they had the Alonsos, won the European Cup with them, and then obviously goes to Bayern. And he's always been blessed with great players like Robben and Ribery at Bayern. You know, he had that Milan team, you know, and I think people keep alluding to that, isn't it? That Milan team is what was that was a great team because he won 2 European Cups, got to a 3rd European Cup, which obviously we won. But everyone will talk about his time in Milan, but he was great at Madrid, you know, at a time where Madrid was sort of, you know, they needed a lift, and he came in and he delivered the big one, wasn't it? He delivered the European Cup, won the league. Then he goes off to Bayern Munich, you know, couldn't replicate the European success, but they were still playing attractive football. Goes to PSG, wins a Ligue 1 title there, and then he comes to Everton. He does have that. I think with Carlos, he's quite precise as well. He knows how he wants his team to set up. It's not just put 11 players on the pitch and, you know, just a few here and there. He is quite precise in his planning, and that's what's made him a successful manager. You know, he can play on the deck. You know, Calvert-Lewin, I think, is a great outlet. You can either play high and long and direct to him, or you can play short on the deck, and he can run in behind as well. You know, he's fairly paced. I think there was an opportunity against United in the first half at Old Trafford where they had just scored, and he was cleared through just at the stroke of half time, just before, and he should have made it 1-1. And it was just a through ball, but the pace of him got away from Maguire and then Lindelof, and he should have made it 1-1. So I think Ancelotti, he's another manager who he can change it around. I thought the Everton job was kind of a poison chalice for him when he first came, because you know you'd tried the Martinez, you had tried the Koemans, obviously the Moyes, obviously Allardyce, which I thought was just an emergency appointment. Never thought he was going to stay there till long. And then Ancelotti, I thought this could go either way, but he seems as if he has stabilized the team. I wouldn't call his period at Everton as phenomenal in my point of view. I think he needs to get them into Europe, whether it is the Europa League next season, get them into Europe and then build on from there. I mean, the ultimate goal, especially with the backers that, you know, you guys have got Mashiri and I think Usmanov, isn't it? Doesn't he play a big part in funding as well? I know he's at Arsenal, but there's some kind of, we won't get to that, but there is kind of some stuff in the background. But obviously Moshiri, who's, pumped money into Everton. So I think if they back him again in the summer, I know it's pandemic season, but if they back him again, I think, the next step will be go again, but go into the top 4 and try to challenge this time. The likes of Liverpool, the likes of Leicester, the likes of United.
Mike,
yeah.
I was just gonna say we've given you sort of an overview or an opinion from the red side about the blue side. Jurgen Klopp, from a blues side, your opinions, your views on his time at Liverpool so far. What do you make of him? And I suppose, is it one of frustration and sort of disappointment, like he's brought us back to the top again?
No.
Or do you appreciate him? What's your opinions and views on him?
Well, okay, so I'm going to be fair, and obviously I am on a Liverpool channel, but
disregard that. You say what you got to say.
Exactly. Look,
no holds barred.
He's done a really good job at Liverpool. You went from, and this is no disrespect, but you went from sort of the nearly men in terms of the league under Brendan Rodgers. Is that fair? You're almost there. Yeah. And then obviously Rodgers leaves and there's a bit of a transition, and it takes Klopp a long time. It takes him 4 or 5 years to build that team that he wants. But you can clearly see the success is coming. You get to a Champions League final one season, you then win it, you then lose a Champions League final or wherever it was, and then you win the league, etc. So there was a clear progression in what Klopp has done. And as a manager, especially at Dortmund, I absolutely loved him. So it was very difficult when he come to Liverpool, because although I don't hate any team, obviously there is a natural dislike towards Liverpool.
Of course.
But you can't sit there and dispute his man management. You can't sit there and argue about how he's turned. I'm not going to say an averagely talented footballers, but he's turned people like Robertson from Hull, for example, into world-class players. He's turned Jordan Henderson into workhorses and very talented footballers. And I'm not saying these players weren't good. I'm saying he's helped coach them. He's really brought them on. So Klopp's done fantastic. As a person, he's gone through the mill over the last 3 weeks as a person, and I saw him after the Man City game where he conceded the title, and obviously he's lost his mom and he's not able to go over and bury her. I felt sorry for him. I genuinely felt sorry for him, because no person wants to see another person look like they're suffering mentally, because I'm massively pro mental health, and he looked like he was. However, 2 days later, he takes a pop at us in a press conference. So I sort of thought, you fucker, because I backed you. And then he's gone, look, we don't want to be on the same points as Everton. That's a shit season. I was like, oh, brilliant. Cheers for that, mate. But in all fairness, if Klopp wasn't at Liverpool, I'd still love him. Is that fair? That's a fair assessment, isn't it?
I think that's more than fair. Mike, absolutely. I can see you turning into a Liverpool fan by the end of the show.
No chance.
Do you think we've got a chance of converting him, Avi, if we push him?
Give us another hour, maybe, yeah.
No,
that's a very fair assessment, actually. You make some great points. And I think deep inside, majority of the neutral fan bases can see the quality in Jurgen Klopp, not only as a coach, but as a guy. He's I think a lot of fans can relate to him. That's what Liverpool fans say anyway. We can relate to him as sort of, as fans. Some coaches you can't really relate to. It doesn't matter how long they've been at your team. And you just can't get a sort of an understanding with them. I think, we get that. I always ask this question, just you don't have to give context behind it, or you can, it's up to you. Pep or Klopp, if Everton had the choice of the two managers, who do you go for if you're the owner of Everton?
Question that.
Well, I'm here for the hard questions, Avi. I'm not here to fuck around. Silence is golden. Avi, while he thinks, who would you do if you was owner of Everton?
It's a tough one for me, Grizz. It's a tough one for me because I love Pep at Barcelona. I still think and I still regard that Barcelona team of Villa, Pedro.
We are talking about Everton here, though, Avi. Don't go off the topic. It's Everton. Financial situation, everything. Take all into consideration. Players at his disposal. You guys are.
You're killing me, Grizz. You're killing me.
Mike, you got an answer?
I'll take Klopp because Klopp likes projects, whereas Pep likes to go somewhere where it's kind of ready-made, cushy. He can buy what he wants. So Everton makes sense for Klopp. Yeah.
Yeah. You get another episode next week. Well done, Avi. Go on, Mike.
So if Klopp hadn't managed Liverpool, then I'll go Klopp because he's built the team.
I get what you said, but because he's been,
I've got to go Pep. But because he built that team at Dortmund, and essentially he's built the same team at Liverpool. You know, he's built a team at Liverpool, but I can't pick him because he's the Liverpool manager. And I am one of these people that once you've gone red, you can't go blue. It's just one of them for me. But there's no doubt that he's quality at building teams. And it's interesting, actually. If you'd have asked me that question next season, I may well have gone Pep straight off the bat because I think he's had to rebuild Manchester City, and that would be the first time he's done a rebuild. Because, as you say, he walked into Bayern, he walked into a Man City team that was performing well, and he walked into a Barcelona team. So, for me at the minute, yeah, you've got to go Klopp just because he knows how to build that team. But
I think also just to step in, Grizz, if you don't mind. With Everton managers in the past, like I'm going back to the 90s, like Howard Kendall, Joe Royle, they were great characters. They were great characters at Everton Football Club. There was always that kind of mutual respect. I mean, even Roberto Martinez, a manager that we blatantly courted, we flew him to Boston. We saw some leaked pictures of him and Henry. And it didn't, unfortunately for you guys, it didn't work out for Martinez, but there's never been a real sort of hatred. I mean, Moyes, I never really took to Moyes. Obviously, with the Suarez thing, when he accused him of cheating and then he scores and dies right in front of him. But managers like Howard Kendall, Joe Royle, they were well respected amongst Liverpool fans too. So, there's not too much hatred when it comes to managers. And it's great, like Mike, like you said, like the amount of respect that you have for Klopp. And yeah, unfortunately for you guys, he is at Liverpool. But, there is sort of that respect there. And it's mutual. There's some Everton fans that from previous seasons that sort of I liked. And, you don't want to...
Yeah.
You don't want to eclipse Liverpool, but you don't mind if they do well. It's at the end of the day, like there was a period where I think it was under Howard Kendall, you guys were going to get relegated. I think it was Graham Sharp scores a penalty and he saves you guys from Division 1, or it might have been under Joe Royle, and there were Liverpool fans saying we want them relegated. This was going back 94, 95. Yeah. And I'm like, but we're not going to have that camaraderie, that rivalry, and you want that, don't you? You want Liverpool and Everton in the same league playing Merseyside Derby. It's not like United or City, where City were in Division 2 or Division 1 and they had to wait 5-6 years before they came up. And obviously now you've got the Manchester Derby. But yeah, just wanted to say a little piece on that, Grizz, if you didn't mind.
No, when you want to sort of impart some wisdom on us, feel free, because you are the wise guy amongst us.
And can I just throw that, to go even further than that, this derby was almost classed as a friendly derby, although it was the derby with the most red cards in Premier League up until very, very recently. And, there's a rich history between Everton and Liverpool. Liverpool have been more successful than Everton since the 60s, and they've overtaken that success. And Everton fans will always have that laugh that you lot playing the original stadium of Everton. And it's not, it is just a laugh, it's banter. Sometimes after the games, it gets toxic. I personally didn't agree with Liverpool fans when you won the league and they were all over Liverpool and there was fireworks at the Liver building and there's a COVID outbreak all around. But it's easy for me to say that. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I'm not in that, So I get it. But equally, when Everton and Liverpool have to stand together, you think of Reece Jones and you lot walking out to Z cars. I mean, that's still a moment that every single time I watch it, I get goosebumps, like genuinely goosebumps. And obviously, we have always stood by Liverpool regarding Hillsborough and always will. That, and there is some sick fans on both sides of the coin that always. And there always will be. And they're a disgrace to both football clubs. Because both football clubs historically are fantastic clubs, and I just want to say that, look, as much as I genuinely dislike Liverpool. No, I do. What Everton fan loves Liverpool?
It wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't have you on if you did like us. I would say, well, yeah.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
But as a city, I think the city benefit from both of our cultures, our support, our, you know, who we are, our identity, and that's what's nice about Liverpool and Everton. There is a brotherhood between the two clubs that you don't see in other cities. Absolute.
A few classy words from Mike there. Really appreciate it. And we echo those.
We're getting too nice here, Grizz. We've got to turn it on, Mike. We're getting too nice here now.
Let's talk about Jordan Pickford. Let's just
come
on.
Exactly. Exactly. No, but it's important. It's absolutely important. You know, even though we may be small fan channels, it's still very important to spread the word of sort of, you know, solidarity in times of need, whatever, you know, and in times of crisis. And I think they're classy words from him. But Mike, we think Richarlison's a wanker. Switching it over now straight away. So we can't stand Richarlison from the Everton side. Who do you guys hate from the Liverpool side? Let's get tasty now. Let's get into it now. So who's your? Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean. Who's the hate? Like, okay, maybe hate's a bit strong. Maybe it's not. Some people, can choose a different word. But who's the one that really fucking pisses you off from the Liverpool side?
Andy Robertson. Yeah. I mean, I have never known a player he gets away with all the little things. From whenever, you know, I remember a few years ago, Tom Davies and him are going in for a tackle, and he sticks his elbow right in the back.
I love it.
And you know, from an Everton perspective, you know, it makes you so mad that you genuinely would love to just, but every team's got one. You know, we've got
every team's got one. Yep.
And every team needs one. But yeah, Robbo for you, like, oh my God. I mean, even just before the Richarlison tackle on THIAGO, which by the way was a shocking tackle. You know, you'll never see me defend that. Shocking tackle. He puts a foot in on, I can't remember, he was running back, and he pushes him, and you sort of sit there and you go, how do you get away with that? How do you get away with that? And then Richarlison's so stupid to do that, you know. But look.
But as you say, every team has one. And you know what? Most good teams, if you go through history, all the league-winning champion teams, the Champions League, they always have one or two nasty characters. And they're nasty, cunning, sly. Call them what you want. Call it how it is. Avi, who's apart from Richarlison, who's the one player? I'll tell you what, not current team. Who's your most hated player from Everton in recent times?
Oh, it's got to be Big Dunk, innit? It's got to be Duncan Ferguson. Just absolutely hated him. He didn't have a bad record against us too. He was the ultimate sort of shithouse, and you just knew back then, like the late 90s, sort of like 96, 97, 98. You just thought our defenders were afraid of him too. You know, we had John Scales, we had Phil Babb, we had like Mark Wright sort of coming to the end of his career, and Duncan Ferguson would shit them up just by his presence. You know, absolutely his presence. And obviously, you know, we know of his time in Rangers when, you know, he unfortunately got some jail time for the assault that he committed, but he was one player. Recent times, I would say Alan. I think from his Napoli days, he's a little shithouse. Yeah, he is. He's one that can, you know, kick a leg in and get away with it.
Yeah,
but yeah, for me it'd have to be Duncan Ferguson.
Tim Cahill for me.
Yeah, Cahill. Yeah,
I could not. Oh man, I could not stand him. You know, just so full of it, and he always.
Fellaini too. Fellaini's another one.
Yeah, Fellaini's just a big oaf, innit? He's hated everywhere he goes. Bless him. It's not, Fellaini's not specially hated. Cahill was specially hated by the Liverpool fans. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got like a cult following, like sort of, you know, this. But anyway, so guys, going into this game, Avi, we go into Everton. You mentioned the words revenge and mission or avenge or whatever. I'm not like that, you know. Honestly, I'm not. Because I think even there's not been much talk about this derby this time, lads. I don't want to. What's your opinion? I think this is one of the most important in recent times, considering where both clubs are in the table, the difference between the two teams, the confidence levels, no crowd. This is a huge game, Avi, in the top four battle.
It is, but I no disrespect to you, Michael, the Everton clan, but I can't see Everton lasting the course. I think if we're serious, I think it's more important for us than it is for Everton, Grizz. I think we need closure, 100% closure.
Really?
After that game in October. Yeah, I think we do. I think that game opened up a lot of wounds that still haven't healed.
Okay.
You know, in terms of like Thiago's injury, in terms of Van Dijk, you know, a fully fit Van Dijk this season, I'm not making excuses, but we would be a lot closer to the top. You know, we'll be making a fist of it again with City. I think we need closure on Saturday. I think we will get it on Saturday. I just can't see us losing this game, Grizz. I really can't. I think we'll be really, really ready for this game. I think it's all of a sudden, it's just sort of come down to this game where if we win, it will propel us even further and sort of get that confidence back that, you know what, we can now fight for the Champions League. We can, you know, consolidate top four, because that's what we need to do. We need to get top four wrapped up as soon as possible. For Everton, it does them wonders as well if they win. But I can see Everton winning on Saturday and then dropping games the next game. I can see them dropping games whoever they play. That's the thing with Everton. It's been topsy-turvy, isn't it? So it's just one of those. I mean, we've got some players coming back too, hopefully for Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of relishing it, Grizz, to be honest.
Mike, your thoughts? While I think I missed out on a super chat, I tried to find it. Avi is supposed to help me, but he's useless. I think I'm going to sack him. But Mike, your thoughts going into the game?
Yeah, I think this is. I echo your thoughts, Grizz, because I think this is a huge game for both clubs. Everton are on the back of two defeats, one being Fulham at home, which was an absolute stinker, one being Man City, which, look, you get over it. You know, we've both lost to Man City this season. You know, they're very, very good side. We go into this game knowing, I think, that it's going to be a pretty brutal game, probably physically as well as mentally. I think Liverpool are going to want to get 3 points. I think they're probably going to want to do a decent job on Everton, and we have seen you guys do that on us before. I'll never forget. Who was it? Was it Lucas Leiva shooting from the edge of the box and Jurgen Klopp wetting himself because of the shot was so bad? But, you know, he was shooting, so yeah. I get it. But I think from an Everton perspective, we go into the game and we want that. We want you to come at us with everything you've got, because it makes us easier to play that ball over the top if you are really hell-bent on staying in our half, because we're not going to push you back. We're going to be that little pinprick that pokes through you every so often. You're going to be that big bludgeon hitting us. And it'll work in Everton's favour in that sense. However, look, there's no doubt the Liverpool quality. There's no doubt you're at home, although you are second best in home form in the league. You've had some poor results: Brighton, Burnley, West Bromwich Albion. Yep. So there is a chance for Everton. We've got some hope. We go into the game thinking that we can get a draw, I would say. I'm not necessarily jumping up and saying we're going to win the game, but I truly believe that this has got 1-1 written all over it.
Do you think he goes with Calvert-Lewin? Do you think he starts?
100%. Yeah. I can answer that. I can answer that for you. Everton have got history for this in terms of resting their players for this game. And it's not a criticism. It's just something that I've noticed, and I think it's pretty evident they do that. I think Allen will be fit, Rodriguez will be fit, Calvert-Lewin will be fit, and he's perfectly entitled to pick and choose where he sort of plays his stronger team. Against Man City, you could say it was more of a free hit for them. Do you know what I mean? Where the focus is on Everton this weekend. Edward Denham, before I get to Edward Denham's, I want to apologize to the fellow who gave us the super chat. I do remember the question, so I'll answer it as much as I know. He's asking about Alisson and any news on Alisson, if he's going to be fit. But because apparently he was not seen in training photos this afternoon, and Liverpool fans have had an absolute fit because Keller has apparently not really fit, and therefore it would mean ADRIAN starting, which Mike, honestly, you'd love that. But as far as I know, I can't remember the gentleman's name who put in the wonderful super chat. Appreciate your support. As far as I know, Alisson hasn't picked up any injury, as far as I know. But it'll be interesting to hear in the press conference. Fingers crossed. See what happens there. Just before we go on, Mohammed Khalif sends in another super chat. Appreciate the support for the channel. Appreciate the super chats, people. We need Davis, any centre back and Kabak for them this match right away and win the game from midfield with Fab, Hendo, Gino, and Curtis. I think that was the other question in terms of how do we go in centre back, Avi, in this game. There are calls for Kabak to be partnered with Phillips even because of the threat of Calvert-Lewin. And let's not forget Richarlison. And they've got, I think, all the back four 6 foot plus because they play 4 centre backs this in a few games. What do you do, Avi?
Stick with Kabak and Hendo. Hendo's got recovery pace, and they're starting to form a relationship. Building a relationship too. Against Leipzig they were okay. I think Nkuku of late Leipzig only got in behind us once, but I think you need to just keep it as it is right now with Kabak and Henderson. It's going to be one in the middle, isn't it? I think Doucouré, Allen, that's going to be a good partnership. And then you think Rodriguez starts as well, Mike, for the Merseyside Derby?
No,
I didn't think so either. But
I personally wouldn't start. And this is the wrong game for Rodriguez, in my opinion, because we are gonna have to get forward as quick as we can. And he's as good as he is technically, he's not the quickest.
Yeah. So I would stick with Kabak and Henderson. Just on Kabak as well. For him, it's going to be not so much. We know he can play a bit of football, and he's played brilliantly well against Leipzig. It's his temperament that I worried about, because these Turkish defenders do, sometimes have a loose cannon. And obviously, coming from Galatasaray, we know the derbies in Turkey, Schalke now as well, and he's got previous as well. I just hope that Klopp has drummed it into him what a Merseyside derby really is, and the players. And I think that's why it's imperative to have Henderson alongside him. Just chirping him away, just chirping him in. Don't fall for the games of a Calvert-Lewin or especially Richarlison. I think Ancelotti will tell him, look, there's a new player in here. He's come from Germany. Here's your chance just to rile him up. And if they've done enough research, which I'm sure Everton have done, they'll target Kabak.
That's you know what, you make some great points. I knew I scouted you for a reason, and it's for these kind of points that you've made. Some brilliant points there, Mike. On the back of that. So if we say we're setting up with Kabak and Henderson again, which would mean most likely we go with the same midfield of Jones, THIAGO, and who was the other one, Avi? Ginny, and then the usual front three. How do Everton A, set up, and B, tactically try to combat that, because from what I've seen, and I think you mentioned as well, you've been playing 4 centre backs, but correct me if I'm wrong. Mina's out. He went off, or he carried an injury. So I'm assuming Godfrey steps back into the middle, and then Seamus Coleman right back. Or do you envisage anything else?
It'll probably be Holgate right back, Godfrey Keane in the middle, and Luca Dean on the left hand side. The midfield will be, my midfield would be Davis, Doucouré, and Allen, because
dogs of 4.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to need. The one thing you can't necessarily say about Liverpool is they're not blessed with goals from midfield, so we almost don't necessarily need to worry about that element. So go man for man with them, go battle for battle with them, go and battle in the middle of the park, because you've got 3 players there who are battlers. Obviously, Thiago's got that touch of class with the pass out and etc. But for me, Everton are going to sit very tight. They're going to sit very, very tight, because your ball is Mane and Salah, and it doesn't matter where you play the ball in between the front line for Liverpool. They're going to cause problems to whoever they gang up on, and that might be that Doucouré needs to drop in at left back to support Luca Dean and have 2 left backs standing on Salah, for example, and hopefully not letting him deliver that ball in the box. your man in the middle, whoever it is, Firmino or whoever, it doesn't worry me, and that's no disrespect. I just don't rate him. But Mane and Salah, there's no denying how good they are and how they can individually rip a team. I mean, we saw it a few years ago. You know, Salah, he turns. I can't remember who he turned against Everton. He sticks it in the top bin from the edge of the box. You know, it was a fantastic goal, all on his own.
I know, Mike, you said whoever we play through the middle doesn't strike fear into you or worry you. Doesn't the name Origi
that does
do anything for you? I thought I put that one in there.
That does. Yeah. I mean, honest to God, I'm more scared of Origi starting than I am Mane, to be honest.
Oh, amazing! I tell you what. Do you know what? So I tell you the funny thing, guys. Right? There's a clip of inside LFC, like where they show training today. Right? Honest to God, Mike. Right? He's been injured. He's been getting slaughtered by the Liverpool fans, right? Before he got injured, and then he got injured, and he's missed a couple of games. And today, right, on the eve of the Everton game, right, there's a clip of him, right? Ball comes over, and he just delicately, it could easily be Zola, right, or Zidane, right, and he just lobs it over, and you can hear Klopp laughing in the background. And I just want to play. I feel like sort of screenshotting that and playing that to the Everton fans, like, and you can hear Klopp in the background going, "Oh, Divock, it's amazing, brilliant."
Mike, just a quick question. Sorry, another question, Grizz. I'm sorry if I'm annoying you.
Now you're getting good at this. Go on,
Mike. Talk to me about Tom Davies. Scores a wonder goal a couple of seasons ago against Man City, right? Gets so much flack from Everton fans, let alone opposition fans. But for me, he's such a workhorse, and I really do like the player. Reminds me of like a Darren Fletcher for United. Never was in the limelight, never got the credit that he deserves. Talk to me about young Davis.
Have you seen what you've done to me by asking that question? I mean, Tom Davies has played over 100 games for Everton Football Club, and I'd probably go as far as saying he's had 10 good games. That Man City game being one of few. However, under Carlo Ancelotti, over the last 5 or 6 games, we've saw a different Tom Davies. We've saw one that's very energetic, prepared to break down the play, neat little passes, little turns where he needs to, keeping the ball well, not being as rash, losing his head too easy. You know, Ross Barkley, for example, you know, very good footballer, but give the ball away every 2 seconds, etc. We're seeing a different Tom. So I sort of reserve judgment on him at the minute because I need to see him be consistent. So at the minute, I'm like, he's a solid 5 out of 10 player. He's average. You know, before this good run, and in January, he was linked with Newcastle, and I would have drove him there. I would have literally got in the car, picked him up, and took him up there. But over the last few weeks, he's played very, very, very well, and he is a workhorse. He does motivate the midfield. He does move around well, and credit where credit's due to Tom Davies. In the last 2 games, he's been substituted, and on both times he's been substituted, we've conceded more goals, and we've not looked as composed in the middle. So he needs to start for me, because I think this is for Alan's first game back in about 11. He needs to start. He needs to start because he's got that energy to help Decore deal with.
There's a little bit of trust in him now as well, isn't there? Against big teams, you can just sort of put him in there. In regards to like say James Rodriguez, someone you're not going to get the energy levels of James. You're just wanting him at the further up the pitch, and he's not going to track back. Whereas Davis, see, I'm one of those, Mike. I've seen enough of him to say I do like the player, and he's still young. What is he? 23, 24?
23, I think. Yeah,
23. Still a young player, but I think he's just been living off that hype since a couple of seasons ago when he scored that wonder goal against City, and I think they were on an unbeaten run, Pep City at the time, and he scores in that. Ever since then, people just thought, oh yeah, he's not gone back to that sort of height, you know. But I like him. I think he's industrious. I think he's a really good player. Yeah,
and I hope he does well. And I hope he gets that consistency now, because he is a blue, and we want him to do well. But look, I mean, if you'd have asked me that question 6 months ago, genuinely, he was a championship player, and I never wanted to see him in a blue shirt again. That's how fickle
Yeah.
Fans are, aren't they? You know.
Yep,
Gav and Grizz thought the same about Curtis Jones a couple of seasons ago. So
no, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Championship at best, wasn't he?
Stop misquoting us. He had a lot to prove, and he's proved it. And you know, us being the perfect motivators, we are motivators of men. So we motivated Curtis Jones into becoming the star he is now. Thank you very much. But Kevin, just wanted to finish up on your predicted lineup, because so we've got your midfield. So then you got Calvert-Lewin through the middle. I'm guessing Richarlison off the left of him. Who's the other wide right?
Iwobi.
Really? I don't want to say too much, because you know what happens. This gets clipped up and shit. So I don't want to say too much, but right. Okay. Iwobi. Yeah. So you don't think he's going to go for Rodriguez? It seems like he was resting him for this game, and the magic of Rodriguez, that wonder of a left foot, you know, set pieces, free kicks. You'd think you need some form of delivery to maximize your chances of hurting us, because that is where our weakness is going to be.
We've got Luca Dean for it, but and look, people will say Rodriguez, but Luca Dean can equally whip in a good ball and he can score free kick. You know, we all know that. But Rodriguez, in my opinion, if Everton's set up with that flat back four and a midfield that's very combative, they're going to need pace to get the ball out. Now, look, we all know Iwobi is not a fantastic footballer. We all know that. I mean, he was awful at Arsenal.
I'm not going to say until after the game.
Was he 35 million when he might 35 million?
Mad.
Paid, didn't he?
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. However, again, very similar to Davies over the last 8-9 weeks. Iwobi's looked very good. He's ball carried. He's beat people. You know, he's. I'm surprised I'm saying this, but I would actually drop Richarlison before Iwobi right now.
Ooh. Wow. How about us, Avi? Yeah, sorry, Kev. Mike, sorry, I beg your pardon. Avi, how about us? Like, Mike's given away his team. Does ours pick itself? Apart from the dilemma of, because I'm not going to lie, I worry about Hendo at centre back against the lumps of Everton. I really do. It's going to be their main outlet. It's going to be their main source of a threat, of a goal. Go on.
Can't see us chucking in Ben Davies. That would be a ballsy call from Klopp, and we
Phillips,
know
Phillips is brought into play up against
the pace of Calvert-Lewin. If he gets in behind Richarlison, if they interchange, Iwobi, Henderson's he is quick. He is quick. I would have to stick with Henderson. I think the last thing that Kabak needs is another centre back. You know, he's finding his tune. He's finding his feet. Stick with Henderson. I've got a weird feeling, Grizz, and tell me if I'm off my rocker, off my head. I am most of the time, you know that. I think Naby could come in. Looking sharp in training, back in full training. Genie does need a rest. I can't see Klopp going with THIAGO, Naby, and Curtis Jones, but I think there's a place for Naby somewhere on Saturday. Could be in place of THIAGO.
Interesting you say that, because he's not been I know this time he's been sort of holding him back and sort of getting this sort of extra training and to make sure he doesn't break down again. But in the past, he has dropped Naby in big games because he does trust him as a player. He may not trust him as an athlete in terms of will he last, but he does trust him as a player. Interesting shout there. I don't think he will, but you never know. It may be your claim to fame if that happens. I can imagine you dancing from the rooftops if that does happen. Yeah, guys. Before we finish up, so give me a prediction and how you think the game's gonna go. Go on, Mike. I'll give you first dabs.
So I think it's 1-1. I think Liverpool will have the ball pretty much all game. I think Liverpool will have to get a ball all game. I think you'll score early. I think you'll score probably first 15 minutes. I just don't think Everton will then go more open. I think they'll just keep with the same game plan. And we'll get a ball over the top, and Calvert-Lewin will beat one of the centre-backs for pace and stick it in for 1-1, probably midway through the second half, and ride it out as a 1-1. But it could easily go either way based on both teams' current form. Although you've got to accept that Liverpool are the better team. It's, you know, so,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
you know,
I hope to.
I like
hope to
Mike
God
a lot.
that doesn't happen.
I think Mike must be the first Everton fan that I actually like and appreciate. Top lad. He's saying the right things. He's saying the right things. He's flirting with us a little bit, Grizz. I think we'll convert him by the time we're out.
Well, you know, until he said 1-1.
Yeah, well, no. I just believe that you have to be realist as a football fan, you know, and we can all be very quick to judge, but I like to look at things analytically, and I can tell you that you're both the same fundamentally. You look at the bigger picture, and look, the bigger picture are Everton are at the first year of their 5-year journey, and if in 5 years' time we win the Premier League like you guys, then we'll be happy. You know, you lot have come from signing players like Andy Carroll from 35 million, and you've done this massive growth period over the last sort of 5, 7, 8 years. Everton are just at the beginning of that. New stadiums on the horizon. Be positive. You know, you've got to accept where we are right now, and where we are right now is we're probably not a top 4 team. We're probably potentially fighting out for top 6. Potentially, we need to be more consistent, but you've got to accept the fact that Liverpool were the champions last season, and actually on the back of 2.5 seasons only dropped something like 20 points over 2.5 years. So let's be realistic with where Everton are, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And Mike, just one final
we're running out of time, Avia. We've got to wrap it up soon. I just wanted your opinion, how you think the game's going to go. Mike's given us a very realistic, I'd say, picture of how he thinks the game might go. Go on, let's have an unrealistic picture from you.
Liverpool 3, Everton 0.
Fair enough.
Say that with a straight face as well. Say that with a straight face.
Any goal scorers?
I think Mane will get 2, and I think Kabak will score from a corner. It's got a nice little inkling feeling.
Fantastic. There you go. One realistic assessment of the game, one unrealistic. That's what the game's all about. But listen, guys, before we finish up, I've got to give
What's yours?
People know listen, my predictions are, change. And the reason they change is I wait for team news, and I analyze and I assess, real football men. People will know from this channel, I'm a real football man. I don't like to just give predictions willy-nilly, my predictions are very, precious, and I like to analyze the teams. But now I think we're gonna win 2-1. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be a tough game, very tough game. 4 centre backs. Oh, now that Godfrey's Mina's out, Digne coming in, I think we can have success against your fullbacks. I genuinely do. I've seen our wingers come to life in the last couple of games, Mane and Salah. And I think, from the first game, I think we'll have the bit between our teeth. So will you. I mean, let's not get it twisted. It is what it is. So will you guys. And as I said, even though the talk amongst the media hasn't been rife, I think we're in for an absolute cracker of a game, just based on the importance and sort of where we are, in the table. Do you know what I mean? So it's so tightly gripped. Just before we finish off, go and check out our sponsors. Magnificent, honest to God. Get your cards made. Get your individual cards made. www.yourfutcard.com. 20% off if you type in LFC DT. What more do you want? Make up your skills. Like, Avi's card is atrocious. Like, I've had a sneak preview of his card, so
99 all round. 99 all round.
God's sake, 99 all round. The best thing about your FUT card is your picture on it. That's the best thing I can say.
It's a beauty.
So, but guys, do go and check out our wonderful sponsors. It's been a pleasure, Mike. I mean, Avi says stuff, right? Well, he doesn't mean, but I mean it. You've been an absolute wonderful guest. We really hope to get you on again, soon. Where can everyone find you on social media platforms?
So you can find me on YouTube on Blue Boys Network. It's the same on Twitter, Instagram as usual. But one thing I will say to all the Liverpool fans in this comment, and you two are going to love me for this. my channel is currently beating this channel by 15 subs. So you lot have got the time now to go and put one up over Everton already. So before you come and sub to my channel, which I'd appreciate, make sure you've all subbed to this one. So by the time we kick off tomorrow, this channel's got more subs than mine, eh? Hey?
Classy. Absolute classy ending there from what's been a class guest, class, my co-host Avi, and a class show all round. I think we've enjoyed this chat. We've looked at it sort of most angles. And I want to thank you all listeners in the chat popping off. Their chat was popping off. Good to see loads of Everton fans in there. Good to see no stupid comments from what I could see. Just do me a favor, like on the way out, subscribe to Mike's channel, subscribe to the LFC Daytrippers. I believe, what day are we on, Av? Thursday.
Thursday.
I believe tomorrow's the Friday forecast. So look forward to that. I think Gav will be hosting. I'm not sure what the rest of the cast is like. And then we'll have a break over the weekend. No, we've got the Fatback 4 on Sunday. And hopefully a happy Fatback 4 with a Liverpool result. Thank you for joining me. This has been Khanage, over and out.